Hi friends, welcome to Beautifully Bookish Bethany. In today's video, we're going to be reviewing my goals for 2023 and talking about my goals and all of my reading plans for 2024. It is wild. We're already into December. The year has sped by, and it's time to take a look back at the goals that I had set at the beginning of the year, see how I've been doing with them, and then take a look forward and start to plan for what I want my next year to be. As I'm filming this, we're coming up on the holiday season, so I have been ordering gifts for loved ones in my life. I still need to wrap and send off a lot of them, and I would imagine that some of you have also been procrastinating on getting gifts mailed out to recipients, or maybe even purchasing them. So I'm very happy to say that today I am here to help you out with that because Luisa is sponsoring this video. They sent me some absolutely gorgeous jewelry pieces that I'm kind of obsessed with, so I'm going to show you. I'm wearing two of the pieces right now, a necklace and these really pretty moon and star earrings that I love. Honestly, I've kind of wanted to work with them for a while because I think they make beautiful jewelry pieces. I like the fact that they're carbon neutral and environmentally aware of what they're doing, especially with making jewelry. They're affordable and, which is a big deal for me, they are hypoallergenic and good for sensitive skin. I have sensitive skin and I have a nickel allergy, so it's kind of hard for me to find really nice earrings that I can wear that don't bother my ears, and I love these so much. This is not the first time I've worn them. I've worn them several times since they sent them to me in the mail. And I'll admit, I am the kind of person who for a lot of years did not invest in high quality pieces for myself. I would do a lot of fashion jewelry, things that would end up tarnishing or not lasting me very long. And so now that I'm heading into my late 30s, I'm kind of ready to start investing in higher quality pieces. And I just love the quality of what they have. I feel like this makes the perfect gift for the person in your life who, yeah, maybe is into jewelry, but also maybe for the person who doesn't take care of themselves the way that they deserve to. A mom, for instance, whether it's your mom or your sister or your sister-in-law, where they're always spending so much time buying gifts for other people and making holiday magic happen for other people and don't necessarily get things that get them really excited. Or maybe you need to buy something for yourself because 'tis the season. And if your wallet is hurting, they're also pretty affordable. Some of their designs start as low as $39. So if you don't have a huge budget to gift people things, this is a great option. They have free and fast shipping, and right now, as I'm putting this video up, you can still snag some items at a, I think, 35% discount. Am I wrong about that? Let me double check. I think some of it's 35% off for their like holiday sale. I was right. There is a sale running through December 15th that is up to 35% off on different pieces. So use the link at the top of the description down below to go and check out the sale, snag some pieces as gifts, snag some for yourself. And a huge thank you to Luisa for sponsoring this video and sending all the beautiful jewelry pieces. So I'm ready to go out for the holidays. With that said, let's take a look back at 2023 and see what my goals were at the beginning of the year and how I did with them. It was kind of funny. I did go back and rewatch my goals video from last year because I was like, what did I say? Sometimes I remember parts of it, but not all of it. And this was definitely the case there. One thing was that I wanted to go from hosting 2 to 3 videos a week down to 1 to 2 videos a week. And I wanted to work less. Ha! I mean, I do think I decreased the number of videos I was doing a week on average a little bit some of the time, but did I work any less? No, I just found other things to fill my time with. So I don't know that I did that very well, but what else is new? There was one goal that I didn't set until a month or two into the year, I think, but I wanted to try out making a controversial or semi-controversial video about once a month to see how they performed on YouTube. And I can't say that I kept up with that every month of the year. I feel like I kind of lost steam towards the end of the year because there was just so many other things going on. But I did do this pretty consistently for a while with mixed results. There were definitely a couple of videos that I made that have performed really well and have continued to perform well. Here are a couple of examples of those. And then there were cases where I'm like, okay, I don't know that that did anything different from what my videos typically do. So there's been a lot of trial and error, doing some experiments like this video of trying to see what works and what doesn't on YouTube. And that is something that I expect to carry forward with me into the new year in some ways. So we'll talk about that. I had the goal, as I've had for the last couple of years, to read on average 50% books from Black, Indigenous, and person of color authors, and at least 25% on average from openly queer authors, and that is something that I've done pretty well. There are months where it's been over, there's months where it's been under, but I definitely expect at the end of the year to look at my stats and see that is where I've ended up. If anything, I have read far more LGBT books this year than I have in the past, and that's just counting books by authors who are openly members of the LGBTQ plus community. So I feel like that has been pretty successful. In terms of my Goodreads goal, I always set it very low to something that I think is achievable. This year I set it at 200 books, and I have definitely surpassed that. I am currently sitting at over 400 books read. And the year is not over. So not a problem, but I don't really try to pressure myself to read more books because I already read so much, so I just set it at a number that I think I could very reasonably hit, and I will probably do the same thing next year. I talked about wanting to do Tor.comathon again in March this time, and I did do that. I feel like that was very successful. We had a lot of people participate, we had a lot of great hosts, and that is something that I plan to bring back again in 2024, so stay tuned. Coming your way in March, we will do yet another round of Tor.comathon. I also talked about several read-alongs that I wanted to do throughout the year, and most of them I did. We did a read-along for the entire Witcher series on Chapter 3 podcast with Leanna, and that was really fun. I enjoyed finally finishing that series. Me and Izzy on the podcast read the Dark Olympus series by Katie Robert. That was also really fun. And we had Shay from Shay Geeks Out and Brianna from Four Paws in a Book come and join us. So I enjoyed that. And then lastly, and most recently, I wanted to do a Tawny Man read along, this series by Robin Hobb, and I just completed that in December. So those all happened. The one that was a maybe for me that didn't end up happening just because of time constraints was a Furyborn read along, because I wanted to go back and reread the books and finally read the third book in the series. So who knows, maybe we'll make it happen in 2024, but no promises. One thing that I didn't actually put in my goals video, but was a goal that I had in my brain that maybe I should have just been more explicit about, and I think for this year, I'm gonna put more dream type goals out there in the universe in my goals video than I've done in the past. I feel like previously a lot of it has been more goals that I know I can achieve versus aspirational goals, and so I'm gonna try to stretch myself and have a few aspirational goals thrown in there as well. So one of those aspirational goals that I had in my brain but didn't publicly say in my goals video was that I really wanted to have the opportunity to go to a red carpet event, because I thought that would be really cool. I follow some people on TikTok who get to go to movie premieres. There's a lot of them in my city. I live in New York City, and I was like, that would be really cool. And back in the spring, I did in fact have the chance to do that, and it was very cool. YouTube Shorts invited me to go to the premiere of Book Club 2 in theaters. The movie was a lot of fun. I wasn't expecting to actually go on the red carpet, but I did, and that was weird and nerve-wracking and pretty cool. So it's kind of fun. On my Instagram, I now have a picture of me on the red carpet, which is wild, and getting to be in the theater and literally being 2 rows away from Diane Keaton and like these just amazing women who I've grown up watching on films. It was very cool. So I feel like that was definitely a goal checked off of my bucket list, and it was a lot of fun. And I did make a YouTube short about it, so I will link it up above if you haven't seen it and you want to see what I'm talking about. Lastly, for my 2023 review are my challenge TBRs for the year. I like to set these for myself as a way to push myself to get to things that have been languishing on my shelves or to read outside of what I typically read. So in 2023, I had 4 challenge TBRs, and you've kind of been seeing me update this as I go. I mention them every reading wrap up, but we're gonna look at them right now. I will say the year is not yet over. I do have 3 books left that I have not yet read, and I do hope to complete all of them, or at least a couple of them, before the end of the year. But let's take a look back at what those books were and how they've been going. First up, I had 5 books on my classics TBR. The first one is The Lottery by Shirley Jackson. This is the one that I have not yet read, and I do hope to read this year. I like Shirley Jackson, and this is very short. I just need to sit down and read it. Then I had Hellscreen by Ryunosuke Akutagawa. This is a collection of horror, partly horror. They're billed as horror. I don't know that I would call them all horror, but horror short stories in translation. They were published by a Japanese author in the early 1900s, and they were really interesting, although a little bit of a mixed bag. Some of them I liked better than others, and I ended up giving the collection 3 stars. Next was The Magic Toy Shop by Angela Carter, and this was actually our Blades and Bodice Rippers book club pick on my channel for Halloween, for our Halloween show, which was a lot of fun, so I'll link that up above if you want to go and check it out. I ended up giving this book 4 stars. I like Angela Carter's writing style. It was creepy, it was weird, but it worked for me. I also read Not Without Laughter by Langston Hughes. This is one of a couple of novels that he apparently wrote, even though he's more known for his poetry, and this was fantastic. Easy 5 stars for me. Highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out. It's a coming of age story, and it's subtextually queer as well, which I think is really interesting. Lastly, on my classics list was Lead in the Mist by Hope Near Lees, and I read this all the way back in January. I loved it. This is a pre-Tolkien fantasy written by a woman, and Leanna picked this for our Blades and Bodice Rippers book club, so we were over on her channel discussing it, but I really enjoyed it. It's definitely slow, and it's this weird mix of cozy, whimsical, and darkly fantastical and eerie, and I really enjoyed it. I also had 5 books on my SFF TBR. This is science fiction and fantasy. I read The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin, finishing up the Dreamblood duology. I gave this book 4.5 stars. Who's surprised, really? I love N.K. Jemisin. Like, she's always amazing, one of my favorite authors, and I do hope, as you'll see next year, to finally finish reading her backlist. Next, I had Dawn by Octavia Butler. This got 6 stars for me, which is a favorite of the year. I am such a sucker for Octavia Butler. I love her work, even when it's super weird and doing interesting things with gender and sexuality, like this is. It's science fiction, and I really liked it. Then I read Moon Witch Spider King by Marlon James. This was okay. I didn't like it as much as I liked book 1. I gave it a 3 star. Next was Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. I read this. I gave it 4.5 stars. I absolutely love Robin Hobb, and this was the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy, so I did read that entire trilogy. And finally, I read Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I gave this 4 stars. This was really interesting, kind of literary science fiction, and it was beautifully written. All right, I think I need to change the battery, so let me do that, and then we'll come back and take a look at my final 2 challenge TBRs for 2023. All right. Next was my Star Wars TBR. I really wanted to do a project where I tried reading books in the Star Wars universe. I love Star Wars, but I had never really dove into the books because they felt intimidating because there were so many of them. So I got some advice and I did a whole video project on it. The video didn't do super great. I guess maybe Star Wars books are a little niche, but I had a lot of fun reading these books, so I'll link that up above if you want to check it out. I read Bloodlines by Claudia Gray and I gave it 4.5 stars. This is a Leia story. It was very interesting. I read From a Certain Point of View, which is a fantastic short story collection. I gave this one 4 stars as well, but I really enjoyed it. I read Brotherhood by Mike Chen, and I also gave this 4 stars. Really interesting if you want to do more of a deep dive on the relationship between Anakin and Obi-Wan. I read The Princess and the Scoundrel by Beth Revis, and I also gave this 4 stars. I expected to love this more than I did, and I liked it. I feel like 4 stars in retrospect was maybe slightly high. Maybe this was like a 3.5. I still did like it. It's supposed to be more of a romance with Leia and Han Solo getting married, but it's not really a romance. Like, it's something else. It was still fine, but it wasn't what I was wanting from it, I think. I read Last Shot by Daniel Jose Older, and I gave this 3.5 stars. This is a Han Solo and Lando Calrissian novel, and I thought this was really interesting because it focuses on Han Solo's adjustment to becoming a husband and a father, but then also looking back on his past, and I liked that. And then finally, my favorite of the bunch, I read Thrawn by Timothy Zahn, and I gave this 4.5 stars. It was so interesting, a really fantastic sort of villain origin story with a lot of nuance. Finally, there were 6 books that went on my nonfiction TBR, and these were all books by Black authors that I've been wanting to read. I have currently read 4 of them. I have 1 in progress and 1 that I haven't yet started, but again, I am hoping to read these by the end of the year. The first one is the one that I'm currently reading. This is Women, Race, and Class by Angela Davis. I had not yet read from her, and it was about time, so it's going well so far. I'm liking it. I read The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. This was an easy 5 stars. His writing is so good. I can't believe I've never read from him before, and you are going to see him show up on my nonfiction TBR again for 2024. Next is Killing Rage by Bell Hooks. This one I have not yet read, but I am hoping to pick it up by the end of the year. Next is The New Jim Crow by Michelle Alexander. I gave this one 4 stars, and it was very good. I can see why it's considered kind of a modern classic and has been used as a foundational text for a lot of other writers. I read The Dark Fantastic by Ebony Elizabeth Thomas, and I gave it 4 stars. I thought this was a really interesting nonfiction critical look at the use of race in fantasy and speculative fiction. Definitely worth a read if you haven't picked it up. And lastly, I had Black on Both Sides, A Racial History of Trans Identity by C. Riley Snorton, and I gave this book 3.5 stars. It was pretty heavy on the academia side of it, and I feel like it did lose something there, but there were elements of this book that were fantastic and have really stuck with me. So overall, I feel like I did a pretty good job with hitting my goals for 2023. In terms of financial goals, we're going to talk about that in January as its own video, so I'm not really going to get into that here. But overall, I feel like it was a really good year, and I'm excited to see what 2024 is going to bring. We are ending Chapter 3 podcast at the end of the year. I feel really good about that choice. We had 3 full years of episodes and did a lot of cool things, but I think we're all ready to move on and do other projects. And I think as you're going to see with my goals for the next year, I already have things in motion that I'm working on. So I'm excited to have hopefully made a little bit more time and space in my schedule for other projects that I want to work on and other creative things I want to try out. So let's take a look at my goals. I am going to have some challenge TBRs for the year. They're going to be a little bit different than they were in 2023, but I'm going to leave that for the end. That'll be the last thing I talk about. So let's look at some of my other goals first. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to make my Goodreads challenge 200 books again. It's very reasonable. I can get to it pretty easily. And I am going to be bringing back Tor.comathon in March. I want to keep working on doing attention grabbing content and working on making my thumbnails more clickable and attention getting. This is something that I've started doing towards the end of the year and seeing what works and what doesn't. And that's something I'm going to continue to experiment with into the new year to see how I can have some videos that are getting a few more eyes on them, especially because this is my full-time job and I'm trying to find a way to make that manageable. And so one piece of that is figuring out how to play to the algorithm a little bit more, and then also balancing it with making sure I'm doing things that I love and things that I care about. So you can expect to see more of that from me in the coming year, and probably some periodic intentionally controversial videos as well, not in a drama sort of way, but maybe like some of the deep dives that I've done on specific books. I want to do more of those, do more content that is widely searchable to people who don't know me and don't already follow me for my reviews. So I'm going to keep working on those things. You may have heard me say that I did NaNoWriMo this year, and I had a really good time doing it. Even though the last couple weeks of the month I didn't really get any writing done, life kind of took over in an unexpected way. I wrote 25,000 words on a manuscript that I'm really excited about. So in 2024, I would like to finish that manuscript and polish it and see what maybe I can do with it, because it's one that I'm really having fun writing. I like where it's going, and I'm hoping to maybe find, I don't know, a writing group or something, some way to keep me accountable to making regular space in my schedule to work on writing. Related to that, in terms of writing, I would also like to try my hand at doing a full short story at some point in 2024, and then maybe submit it for a thing. I don't know if it'll get in anywhere, but I'd like to try that and see how it goes. That is a direction that I'd like to move with my creativity. It's something that I find I enjoy doing, and I want to see where that might take me. This year, I also want to finally pitch a panel for New York City Comic Con. This is something I've thought about doing for a few years, but I've never kind of gotten myself together in time to do it and reach out to people who might want to be on the panel. So this is the year. I'm saying it now. In 2024, I am going to reach out to people who I would like to host on a panel and pitch a pitch an idea to New York City Comic Con and see if I can make it happen, because that would be really fun and exciting. And going along with that, I would also, and this is like aspirational, some of these are a little aspirational, but this is the year where I would love to host some kind of a book event at a bookstore, like be the person asking questions to the author at an in-person event. I think that would be really cool. I want to do more of those kinds of things. I love doing author interviews. They are a lot of work to prep for. They're a lot of work to put together, and they don't always perform super great on YouTube, but I'd like to find ways to do them in interesting ways, and maybe that means in-person events, but also, but also aspirationally, I would like to do a couple of author interviews in 2024 with authors who I love. So I'm gonna say I would love to have Chuck Tingle on the channel and interview him. He wrote one of my favorite books of the year, Camp Damascus, and I think he's just so interesting and funny, and I would love to have him on the channel and get to hang out and talk with him. Also, the person who I might freak out if I ever interviewed and I don't know that I could do it, but N.K. Jemisin, oh my God, can you imagine? Can you imagine if I got to interview N.K. Jemisin? That would be like, I would have arrived. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if this will ever happen, but I'm putting it out into the universe, and who knows? Maybe this could happen. Maybe she'll give us a new book this year. That would be exciting. I also know on and off I've done a little bit of fashion content, and again, it doesn't necessarily do amazing on every platform, but I really love it. I really enjoy doing it, and I would like to do more of it. So, you know, it's been fun getting to partner with Luisa for this video, but in general, fashion and plus size fashion is something that I love, and I would like to find a way to integrate that into what I'm doing if possible. This one is more of a personal goal, but I want to put more time and effort into developing in-person friendships in 2024. That's something that I've slowly been trying to get better at, building a network of acquaintances and a few friends in New York City so that it's not all virtual. I feel like my life is different now than it was pre-pandemic, where my kids are a little bit older. I have more time, I have more space to invest in things like that, and we're not in the middle of a, you know, COVID lockdown anymore. And so that is something that I want to prioritize in my life in 2024 and be more intentional about. I do have fun things planned for Patreon. So some of my patrons are going to be getting writing updates from me depending on their tier. We're bringing back the Get Shit Done Readathon in January as a patron exclusive, which we did in 2023 as well, and that was a big hit. So we're going to be doing that again, which will be really fun. And members, channel members also have access. And my highest tier patrons also get access to perhaps the biggest and most ambitious project that I'm working on in 2024, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope other people are as well. I've mentioned this a few places, and once everything is ready to fully launch, I'll probably do some kind of a dedicated video talking about it, but I'm working on this multimedia interactive story where you get to make choices that determine what happens next, and it's going to be coming in monthly installments, so I've kind of planned it all out from January to December. I've planned most of it mid-year. So mid-year, it's going to branch into two primary plots that you could choose depending on what you do. One of them is a more fantastical kind of fantasy type plot, and one of them is more like a mystery thriller type plot. So the fantasy one is pretty much figured out all the way through December, and the mystery thriller one I still have to like finagle a little bit, but it's been really fun because I'm doing a little bit of actual writing because there's a text element to it, and then you make a decision and click a hyperlink that takes you to a video, and at the end of the video you also get a monthly reading challenge. So it is kind of a big project. There's a lot of short videos that I'm filming, and then there's like bits and pieces of the text that I'm writing to go into this, but I hope people enjoy it. Again, this is all included for patrons at $25 a month and above, but it is also going to be available to anybody who's interested through Ko-fi. One nice thing too is if you do decide to try it out, you can always go back and replay it in a different way if you want to like try a different path at some point. So I think think it's gonna be really fun. I hope other people enjoy it as well. There is gonna be a yearly option or a monthly option, depending on what you wanna do, if you just wanna kind of try it out and see if you're into it. And maybe it's not gonna be for everybody, but it's a goal that I had where I wanted to really stretch myself and try a different way of storytelling and creativity and see what I come up with. So I've been going to different places in New York City doing filming for it. It's been fun. So fully completing that project is a big goal of mine for the new year. Okay, and that pretty much just leaves me with read-alongs and challenge TBRs. So as it stands, I've got 2 read-alongs planned for 2024. One of them is the Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. If you were in the last live stream for the Tawny Man read-along, you probably already know this is something we're planning to do, but I've been trying to get through the Realm of the Elderlings books with 1 series per year. So in 2024, I'm going to be reading the Rainwild Chronicles, as well as The Inheritance, which is a short story collection that includes some short stories that are set in that world. So we're going to be reading The Inheritance in February, and then the Rainwild Chronicles from March to June, because it's a quartet of books. So that's a read along I'm doing along with a few other people: Jade from Bedtime Bookworm, Scarlet Moon Creations, Christy. It's going to be fun. And then the date is still to be determined, but me and Leanna are still planning to do a Song of Ice and Fire read along at some point in 2024. I feel like this is probably going to be in the later part of the year. Stay tuned for details on how that's gonna go. So finally, that brings us to my 2024 challenge TBRs. These are the books that I am saying I would like to prioritize reading in 2024. And it's a little ambitious, if I'm being honest, but I think it's a good way to go. So last year I had 4 different TBRs. This year there's only 3, but one of them is kind of a lot. So I have 5 books that are going on a nonfiction TBR, 5 books that are classics that I want to read, and then I have 10 series that I want to complete in the year. And these range from books where I only have 1 book left to read to the Rainwild Chronicles where I'm reading 4 books. So it's kind of a range. So let's start by looking at the 5 nonfiction books that I'm going to be prioritizing for 2024. First is Slouching Towards Bethlehem by Joan Didion. I have heard people say that they really love her writing. I have never read it, and I have this really cute little book of hers that's been sitting on my shelf for a long time. I honestly don't know what this is about. It sounds like maybe grief, but I don't know. So we're gonna try some Joan Didion. I also have Dust Tracks on a Road, Zora Neale Hurston, an autobiography, and I love this edition. It's really pretty. In high school, I read Their Eyes Were Watching God, or Her Eyes Were Watching God. I always forget if it's her or there, but I read that in high school and really liked it, and I would like to read her autobiography. This came out in 1942, so definitely a classic there. Then I want to read The Color of Law, A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America by Richard Rothstein. I've heard really fantastic things about this, and again, it's been on my TBR for a while, so want to read it this year. Bad Feminist by Roxane Gay. This is a series of essays. I know that I like her writing based on things I've read before, so we're gonna try to get through some more of her backlist. And finally, for nonfiction, we have Notes of a Native Son by James Baldwin. I did tell you he was gonna be showing up again, so we're gonna read some more James Baldwin this year. Next is classics. First is The Little Prince by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I think I'm definitely saying that wrong. I feel like everybody has read this. I don't know. It's a children's classic. Oh, the dust. It's a children's classic. I know people love it, but I have never read it. And I was gifted it. Actually, now that I think about it, I think I was gifted 3 of the books going on my classics TBR this year. So Little Prince, I was gifted from a patron. The Last Unicorn, I was also gifted from a patron, actually, by Peter S. Beagle. This is a modern fantasy classic, and I feel like I really should have read this by now, but I haven't, so we're going to do it in 2024. The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This was gifted to me by Mara at Books Like Whoa, who's surprised. This is classic suspense and horror. I've seen adaptations of this and read adaptations of this, but I've never read the original, and I've never read anything from Henry James, so I want to try him. The Awakening and Selected Stories by Kate Chopin. This is part of the Penguin Vitae collection, and It's something I've never read. I've been interested. And finally, The Souls of Black Folk by W.E.B. Du Bois. This is nonfiction and a classic, but we're putting it on the classics TBR. Then I have 10 series that I want to complete. First is kind of a placeholder. I have The Inheritance by Robin Hobb. This is a stand-in for the Rainwild Chronicles because I have not yet purchased them, but I will make sure that I have them by the time that I'm going to be reading them. I also want to finish reading the Inheritance trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. These are the last 2 books in her backlist that I have not yet read, and then once I've done that, I could do a whole author overview, kind of where to start with her if people are interested. So books 2 and 3, The Broken Kingdoms and The Kingdom of Gods. I thought that I was getting the bigger copy of this, so at some point I'll replace this with a matching copy. I also want to finish reading Lilith's Brood by Octavia Butler. So I have 2 books left in that series, Adulthood Rights and Imago. So 2 books to finish that. And then once I've read these, I will only have 1 series left to read before I've read pretty much all of her stuff, which is kind of tragic, but I love her books, so I'm gonna keep going with her. I want to finish reading the Earthsinger Chronicles, so I'm planning to pick up Requiem of Silence by Elle Penelope. This has been staring at me for my TBR for a couple of years now. I do really love the series. I guess you would call this romantasy. It's political fantasy romance with primarily Black characters. I really like the first 3 books and I do want to finish it out. I also want to finish the Wayfarer series by Becky Chambers, so I still have Record of a Spaceborne Few and Galaxy and the Ground Within to read. So these are all companion novels, 2 books left in that series. Next is my other heavy hitter, and doing the whole series this year might be ambitious, but we'll see what we can do. I would like to finish The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. I read book 1 in 2023, and I would like to also read Wall of Storms, The Veiled Throne, and Speaking Bones. So can I read all of these this year? I don't know, but they're going on the TBR, so we'll see. Somebody had mentioned maybe trying to do a read-along for them. I don't know, we'll see. I would also like to keep going with the Mirror Visitor series. I think this is all of them. Is there a 5th book in the series? I can't remember, honestly. I don't know, it may just be the 4, but I definitely have The Memory of Babel and The Storm of Echoes by Christelle Dabos, so I want to keep going with that series. I think it is just the 4, and I have them on audio as well. I want to finish the Malice duology with Miss Rule by Heather Walter. I pre-ordered this and have not finished it. It's a sapphic retelling of Sleeping Beauty, except that the witch is the love interest. I know these are technically 2 different series, but I'm just calling the Grishaverse a series. I would like to complete my reading of the Grishaverse, and I have 2 books left to do it. Crooked Kingdom and Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. I know that I've been spoiled for Crooked Kingdom because I read King of Scars. It's fine. I still want to read it, so I would like to be completely up to date on the Grishaverse series. And finally, this series doesn't really have a title because they're all companion novels, but I want to finish reading the Station 11 universe by Emily St. John Mandel. I started with the last book, and now I want to go back and read Station 11 and The Glass Hotel because they've got, you know, literary sci-fi with some crossover stuff. Whew. So that is kind of a lot, but books and series that I'm excited about reading and finishing. I am in the middle of so many series. There are other things that I could have put on this list and maybe should have, but this is what we've ended up with. So this is what's officially going on my TBR for 2024, and we'll see if I can finish off some series I've been in the middle of. I think that would be great. Talk to me in the comments down below. Let me know any of your thoughts or feelings on anything I talked about in this video. And for your question of the day, let me know what's one of your goals for 2024. What are you looking forward to doing? What are you planning to read? Do you have any things that you're going to try to focus on in your personal life, in your reading life? Let me know in the comments down below. And as you're thinking about your holiday gifts for others and for yourself, don't forget to use the link link down below to go check out the sales happening right now at Luisa. Huge thank you to them for gifting me all of this gorgeous jewelry and sponsoring this video. I really hope you all will help me out and go and check them out down below. Show them some love. It would be very exciting to get to work with them again in the future. So I hope you all go and check them out and gift some beautiful, long-lasting, and affordable jewelry to loved ones in your lives. If you guys like this video, it always helps if you give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.